Hi everybody, it's Christine, and I'm sorry I couldn't resist coming back to show you finishing touches. And that's what this video is going to be about. It is going to be about finishing touches and how they can be the difference between just a ordinary coloring page and one that you go wow at least that I go wow at. So what are the things that we can use as finishing touches? Well, probably the number one that we all know about is a white gel pen. In my case, I have the Signo Uniball. I have never had any issues with them clogging, but I do take the extra precaution of always just sort of, after I've used it, I just sort of draw it a little bit across a paper towel like this to just get any of the extra goo off of it before I cap it up. And then when I go to use it again, I make sure that I get it started on a piece of paper so that it's flowing by the time I touch it to my page. And then I just clean it off again before I put the cap back on. The other things, of course, that we have for our finishing touches that are my favorites are both stickles. Now, I don't happen to have any stickles, but I was in my dollar store, and I picked up these Elmer's glitter glues. And they work kind of like a stickles. They have the same kind of applicator, and they are not quite as glittery as stickles, but they're what I have, and they work, and I got all 5 of them all packaged together for $1. So that was a good deal. And then, of course, the creme de la creme of my details collection, which is my hybrid dual metallic 2-shade, because they're a different shade on dark than they are on light, and these are the hybrid dual metallic glitter gel pens. And they are really, really cool. And I had mentioned the last time I showed this in part 3 that I was thinking about doing the gemstones as amethyst, or not amethyst, as amber. And so amber is what I decided on. I think I said peridot or amber, and I wanted to show you how cool these came out. And I'm just messing around with my focus. And I really, really like the way that those came out. I love the colors. I love everything about them. With the Posca gel and applied that way, it makes it look like they're really, really shiny. And so I wanted to show you the colors that I used in those over here. And then here is one that I was going to show you, the Uniball, the way that I did the Uniball. Now, I should say, to give credit where credit is due, that I learned to do this so I made it slightly wider at the top than I did at the bottom. And then I'm going to add just a little diamond square. And then just a couple down there and one along there. And as that dries, it'll get whiter and whiter and whiter, and it will look more like a shine on glass. And you just, do those like that. And so it's just a fool the eye kind of effect. And if you don't get your white just right, wait until it dries and you can actually scratch it off. Okay, now the colors that I just wanted to show you real quick. The colors that I used for that, and they are the Inktense Amber, which is 1710, the Mustard, which is 1700, the Sienna Gold for the highlight, which is 240, and the Baked Earth, which is the 1800. So I start with the amber and just do a little bit of color, probably a little heavier up there in the corner, and then come down, do a little bit along this bottom edge, and maybe a little bit along the edge. Now I'm doing this just like I would do a gemstone, so I'm thinking about it the same way. Then I take the mustard and sort of work it right on top. I'm going for a highlight area right in this area here. So I'll work this around a little bit, just maybe add a little bit down here, a little bit there. Then I take the Sienna Gold and actually put a little bit of it just right in there and maybe right along the bottom. Now notice I'm not being fussy about where the color is going. It's going to all get wet, it's going to all blend together. Then along this very outside edge, to give it a little bit more of the amber tone and make it look more three-dimensional, I put that amber, or not amber, Baked Earth, all the way out here on this far edge, and maybe just a little bit along the very edge of that, and maybe a little bit along this edge, and maybe a quarter of the way up on that edge. So now I've got a whole bunch of colors all mashed around. Then, of course, I get my blank area that I left blank wet, and then I'll just start sort of working the color. And I'll work it all the way around. I'm not so much trying to move the color as I am trying to get it to flow into each other this time. So I'm doing that more with the tip of my brush. And so now when that dries, it'll have a lighter, naturally a lighter center, just like these ones do up here, or, a lower quadrant. And that'll make it look like the light is hitting it. It's actually hitting it from this angle, but it's throwing a reflection out here on the edge. So I did leave 2 of those to do. Move the camera forward just a little, since I've got the book right up against the thing and it won't move any further. So once again, the amber, along that edge, and just a little bit along that edge, and a little bit along here. So basically you're just making a square, but putting it a little further in on the two sides, and then a little further in up here at the top. And then the mustard. Sort of right on top, or like about halfway into your amber. Sort of work it down and around. Maybe just toss a little in, right in here, right on top of the amber, and then across that side. And then the sienna gold, kind of right around in here. Very light on the bottom side. And then the baked earth along that edge and a little bit up. This corner, and then maybe a little more along the edge, and then just a little bit here. And then just do the same thing working it around a little bit. Actually, I've got the wrong brush. This one is better for this. This one, the water flow in my middle-sized brush is a little bit more. And since what I want it to do is flow into each other, I want to use the slightly wetter brush. And I know it looks a hot mess right now while it's wet, but it looks completely different when it dries. So there's that. And then, look at the difference between this flower, which I did with this is the same colors that I used in these cherries. It's the Shiraz and the cherry color of the Inktense. And then look at this one with just a little bit of detail, a little accenting with the white Posca, or I call it a white Posca, but it's actually a white Uniball, and then the the center. And so I did the center with the same colors, because I'm going for color cohesiveness here, as the gemstones. So this is the mustard, and then I just used a little bit of the sienna gold in one corner. And then around the gemstones, to make sure that they sort of stand out on the page, I originally used the dark chocolate brown, but it was actually too dark. And I did that over here on these, and I think it was just a little bit too dark. So I switched over to the oak, which is the 1730. And just put a light coat, or a light layer, around the gem. And it really makes it pop up nicely. So I'll do that, which is the first part. Now I do want the lesser of the two as far as water flow goes. Now, this is sort of necessarily or probably unnecessarily light, but I'm going to go back in with that dark chocolate, but I'm going to use it just as a liner around the outside edge of the stone. So you can already see, applying this dark background around the lighter gemstone is already bringing it up off the page. Hang on a second. I am there we go. I'm still futzing with the focus. Okay, and then I took the dark chocolate, which is the 1930, and came right off the tip of the pencil with it. And then use this just like a fine liner, like an eyeliner. And line the very outside edges of the stone. And once that's dry, it will look just like these do up here. So, you know, it really is just another dimension to pop it up off the top, you know, off the page. Which I really, you know, it is those myriad of little tiny things that really help. And I was watching Coloring with V a couple days ago, or actually, I think it was yesterday, and she had started a page. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. A book that I have really wanted, I finally got, and it is every bit as wonderful as I'd hoped it would be. And so I'll show that to you. Let's see here. I need to add just a tiny bit of oak right there where I didn't quite get. Okay. There we go. And then I'll come back and do, because these aren't quite dry, I'll come back and do the oak around those too. I just wanted you to see how that particular stone was done. And did I stop before I said that anything that I have learned about how to do any kind of gemstone is from Rose Rambo, Amanda Rose Rambo, over at Vitruvian Art. And her channel is just wonderful for that. Okay, so this should be dry enough to where I can do this. So then I just add a little bit. Of the white gel around there, and despite the fact that it's not quite done, speaking of Vitruvian art, she just posted yet another video. She has a wonderful patron page. Let me get you back in focus here. And Patreon, it is correctly pronounced patron, but everybody calls it Patreon because it is spelled the European way. But it's basically patrons of the arts. That's what a patron. That's what the patron site is all about. But she has a wonderful Patreon presence where you can actually get her tutorials like a year early. After they get older, she then puts them up on YouTube. So if you have a lot of patience, you can learn her new stuff today. Or you can learn today what she was teaching a year ago. And she teaches a lot of art. The only other thing that I wanted to say is these leaves here, I did those using the same method with the taking the color right off the brush, and I used the beach green, which is the 1510, and they are all the same color. They look slightly different because the first one that you do will be really dark green, but the next one will be slightly lighter green, and as you work the different leaves all around, as long as you're not going right back to the pencil and picking up more color, you'll get that leaf variation just by how much paint is left on the brush at the time you put it down. So you can, it's like, you're achieving 5 different colors by only using pressure of 5 different pressure points. So it works exactly the same way with your Inktense as it does. Okay, so this is now finished. I did want you to see the finish. I mean, except for the fact that I have to finish it out. I've shown you absolutely everything that I've done on this one. But since the devil is in the details, I wanted to go back to this one. Now, this one I worked on, of course, this was the very, very first Derwent Inktense picture that I ever did. And I did the interior with the Inktense pencils. And I think, as a matter of fact, I did this with the 12 set. And all of this out here was done with water-based markers. But at the time, I didn't have anything like these cool glitter gel pens. So I thought that I would revisit this and maybe add some pretties using the gel pens. So this one is the blue metallic green, and so this is more of a teal color when it comes out. Turning back to a page, so it is, oops, I keep forgetting that, this camera does zoom. Just because I have it on an arm doesn't mean that I have to have to pull it down right in front of my face. There we go. So so that is the color that this actually is. And so I thought, once again, this is, you know, the details issue. And I wanted to see how it would look if we added some of these details now that I have these very cool pins. And I realize that on camera that may be just a little bit difficult to see, but I will be sure that I show it to you. And all I'm doing is just following the lines. I could say that the artist drew, but since I am the artist, I'm following my own lines. And as these dry, of course, they do get shinier and shinier. So I'll show you that as we do it. But now I had used the white Uniball and had, you know, created the stars in the sky and the sort of glow around the sun. And around the should be more careful with that. I think that might scratch off if I let it dry. Around the beachheads, where the sun would you know, cast that big old glow. So you can always revisit your pages and add other details after the fact sometimes. If you get a new art supply in, that is really what V was talking about. She had gotten the same book that I did, and just like me, the book is the Dutch version of Willem San by Tomislav Tomic. The same one that did Zemlesnova, which is the Dutch version of that. It's called Drum and Banger. And Zemlesnova, or the other one, of course, Willem San, is really just a continuation of the same drawings, just more of them, you know, more and different of them. And it is a very intimidating book in the same way that the Kirby Rosannas are all, you know, very, oh, well, see, yeah, you can see the glitter kind of on that as it's drying. In that they are very detailed and very frou-frou. I mean, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff. to color, and it can be very intimidating. So basically the way that V handled it is she decided that since she was going to tackle a project that intimidated her, she wanted to do it with a coloring medium that she was very, very comfortable with. And so she decided to use her Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. And it turned out, the work that she did on it has turned out just simply beautifully. But see, I love the way that that looks. The, you know, adding the sparklies. So details. You know, they do say that the devil is in the details. So go back if you've got pages that maybe you just thought were so-so, and give them some details, and see what you can come up with. And this is that book. And then, of course, I was in Dee Dee's stream today, and it had, Dee Dee was doing something with color washes. And this is the Dutch version of Willemsson. It's called, wait for it, Sprookjesbos. Sprookjesbos. I think. Sprookjesbos. At any rate, I listened to the way that V pronounced it, assuming that she would know, and that's how she pronounced it. I don't know how it's actually pronounced. I do know this. It translates to fairy tale forest. Just like this one translates to dreamland. So Dramenbanger is dreamland, and this one is fairy tale forest. And it is got very similar designs. Amen. Oh. Okay, I'm thinking that that is in focus. It looks like it's in focus. It has got very similar designs to Zemlesnova or Dramenbanger, just more of them. And the one that V did, and of course you know that anytime a book intimidates you, you should always start with a 2-page spread. Because that will get you over it very, very quickly. And so this is the one that V started. And so she did a really beautiful, you know, she did it with watercolors. I'll probably do it with ink tints. And made it, you know, the various colors that she wanted to use. And she did it just like a wash. And then, you know, she did sort of the rough colors of what she wanted the beak to be, and the hair, and the, you know, the eye. And then she went in with her polychromos and started to add subtle shading and details and things like that. And then it wasn't nearly as intimidating. So, and Dee Dee did the same thing with a picture in, I want to say it was either Mythomorphia. It was one of the Kirby Rosanna's books, and it was the one with the fox with the big fluffy tail. Was that Anamorphia? I'll be able to tell you in just a second, because I do in fact have that book. Although I don't recall seeing the fox one in this one. So it might be Imagimorphia or one of the others. And so if you run into those kinds of difficulties. This is Mythomorphia, so I know it's not that one. That means it's got to be an Imagimorphia, right? Not that one. Which one was it? Well, I guess it's got to be in. I guess it's got to be in this one. On the other hand, maybe this is just. Maybe this one is just the. No, there it is. It was the Kitsune. That was, and she did the whole. The box thing in the and this all in a single color wash, and then started to add a background and subtle detailing to the shading in the tail and things like that. So that's always a great place to start. I do want to say one thing though. If you guys were in that stream and you saw me say to Dee Dee that you can't I found out that acrylic glazes are really transparent, and Dee Dee said you couldn't use them because you can't put pencil over them. She was probably thinking of a different kind of glaze, because I put pencil over this with no problem at all. And this is the one that I did in Romantic Country that I'm working on now, and I've started to do my shading around my wood, and pencil works just fine over it, my Prismacolors. So this is all glazed paint, and it works just fine. So yay me. I about had a heart attack when she said that, because I was like, oh no, what do you mean? Does that mean that I won't be able to add shading to my book? So everybody, details matter, and so if you love to color, even if you straight color, you can always add really cool little details. A great lady to watch to do that is Kate at Kate's Coloring Haven. So yeah, there's that. What will I do for the next part? Hi everyone. This is part 2 of this video. I was wondering what I was going to come up with next, and here it is. It's the next day, and so what I've come up with are some new art supplies and some other fun stuff. I actually have taken an entire day off, which is something that I almost never do, and I had to do a little grocery shopping today, and so before I went there, I went to the dollar store because I needed some, plastic sandwich bags or freezer storage bags and trash bags and some other things that I typically pick up at the dollar store because I don't go through very many of them. So it's actually really cost effective for me to do that. And while I was there, I found this very cool little dry erase paddle. And I thought it was so cute. And so I picked up the little dry erase markers to go for it. So for $2, I have a little signage system for my channel to use during live streams and stuff like that. And of course, I'm pretty sure that it just erases right off. I also got some cotton rounds because my friend Virginia, who I mentioned has been experimenting with her distress inks and Inktense, has told me that she's been using cotton balls. This is what I love about a dry erase board. It just goes away. Just like that. And so a little cotton ball can be used to clean that as well, which I think is so cool. Okay, so I got that. That was fun. Dee Dee has finally convinced me to get baby wipes for acrylic paints and things like that. I got a little package of 24 for $1. And, okay, the makeup, we talked about the cotton balls. Then I was over at Walmart. And normally I go down the art aisle. In this particular case, I decided that on that romantic country drawing that I'm working on, where I drew in a background, and the wall is that streaky watercolor marker, I've decided that I am going to make it a solid green. And so I wanted some acrylic paints. And I had the bottle of acrylic paint in my hand, the little art supply one that's like $1 at the store. And I turned my head, and for some reason, I actually looked at what they had on the opposite wall. And what they had was this. Now, this is a product that is apparently packaged by a company called Daler and Roney, put out under the Simply trademark. They also do, obviously, watercolors. And this is tube acrylic paint. Oh, wow. I was wondering where that other dryer sheet had gone. I found one in the dryer, and I'm wearing very clean clothes. They just came out of the dryer. Oh, that's so funny. And then I wasn't, I wasn't holding out too much hope that these were going to be anything special. But the price was right. They were under $5. $4.88 for 12 colors. And they are the tubes of acrylic paints. And then I got to looking on the back, and the colors are made in England and then assembled in the Dominican Republic. But apparently Daler Roney Limited is a company in some place called Bracknell, England. I think that's what it says. I'd have to get my magnifying glass out to see. But generally, Bracknell, 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 England. And it's Daler-Roney.com. But at any rate, so the colors are all made in England. And like all Americans, we always think that things that are made in England must be better, right? They are in a metal tube. They're 0.4 U.S. fluid ounces. It's just acrylic water paint, or, acrylic paint. But, with those colors, which are, there's white, medium yellow, brilliant red, scarlet, violet, ultramarine, medium green, dark green, yellow ochre, light brown, brown, and black. With those colors, I ought to be able to mix just about anything. And of course, it doesn't take very much to go a long way in a coloring book. So for under $5, that was worth the gamble. Then, hanging right below it from the same Daler Roney company, also the colors all made in England, are a watercolor set of 6 colors, which are the primaries, well, except for green, because green is red and blue. But it's, you know, the white and the black in watercolors are sort of unnecessary, except unless you want to use them. But then I've got the yellow, the red, the ultramarine, carmine or crimson, lemon yellow, crimson, ultramarine, and sap green. And with those, you can also mix any color under the sun. And those are watercolors, and those really will go a long, long way. So I'm totally pleased. Oh, by the way, $2.88. $2.88 for 6 colors at Walmart. Once again, colors are all made in England. I know nothing about this company, but I'm really kind of looking forward to giving these a try, which we will do on a video very, very soon. And so I'm loving my new toys, and I think I'm going to call this a video, and I'll see you at the next one. Until we meet again, please color something pretty. My books, as usual, can be found on Amazon and in my Etsy shop, CLAldridge Art. Links are always in the description below, along with Amazon wish lists and PayPal tip jars and all kinds of other things, informational. But mostly it's all about, please take a look at my books, see if there's something in there that you would like. I've got birds, I've got designs, I've got animals, I've got all kinds of things that I draw. Dragons are coming, although there's some dragons in the shop now. And we'll see you soon. Again, please color something pretty. Until next time.